Yo, what's up, bro?
Okay, you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, what's up, man? How you doing?
Chilling, dude. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Just getting ready to coach it up, getting my day started.
Let's go, bro.
All right. So I am on BattleNet right now. Did we? I can't remember. Did we add each other before? Okay, yeah, we did. Boom, easy, fast and easy.
Easy peasy.
Fuck yeah, fuck yeah. All right, go ahead and set up the game, and we'll get it going, dude. And
Let's do it. Let me see.
from what you said, I just to clarify, I assume you wanted to talk about like Ling Bane Hydra styles this time.
Right, right. So I kind of like caught up to bronze to grandmaster, and finally on like diamond three.
Okay.
And I saw you doing lean Bane Hydra. I was like, oh shit. So I kind of want to master that.
Sure.
I tried it here for like one of the first couple times.
Yeah.
It worked out okay. I just want to know what I could do to make it a lot more efficient, dude.
Yeah, it sounds good. It's definitely a style that's going to be good to get used to because it's going to literally be useful in both matchups of Zerg versus Terran and Zerg versus Protoss.
Right,
Not so much ZvZ, but uh,
right.
yeah, let's get it going, dude. I just taught there. Oh wait, no, you're supposed to toss me leader.
Game over, dude.
No, let's just restart really fast.
How's your day going, man?
Yeah, not bad. I just had my had a nice shower, got myself all ready to go, and yeah, I'm doing well. I'm ready for my the next 8 hours is gonna be a stream and probably get some food at some point. And I'm good. How's your day going?
It's chilling, man. I've been just watching Netflix all day, dude.
Yeah, nice. I
All morning.
I was actually trying to catch up on Super Tournament finals last night. I didn't watch the whole thing because I went to sleep, and I was watching. I'm almost through the finals, so I haven't actually seen the end. I'm sure
Nice, dude.
someone's gonna probably spoil it, but it's fine.
I was gonna say, dude. Hide the Twitch chat, dog.
No, it's all good. Uh, all right. So we got some Ling Bane Hydra going up here. Um, so when you go Ling Bane Hydra, one of the big things you want to always do. There's one common mistake I see people make, but I mean I don't know if you're gonna do it. We'll find out in a minute. But it's you always want to take a really heavy mineral emphasis first, and then do a gas emphasis later. A lot of people get kind of like caught up in the moment where they're like, I need hydras, I need to make hydras. So they make tons of gas way faster than they need to. So
Right.
yeah, just know always what your plan should always be going for this style is it should always be heavy emphasis on 3 base saturation and then hydra, not gas emphasis. But yeah, well, I mean, so far so good. Nothing really crazy has happened yet. Nothing, your build seems fine so far. Um, we're building. Things are happening. And okay. Now against Terran, and you took your drones off gas too, which I think is good. This is what I'm talking about with like the mineral emphasis. I'm glad you're doing things like this. Like, and you're not just leaving 3 on to go for like a layer really fast.
Right.
But yeah, I'll see if you do it in a second here. But one thing you should always do against Terran especially is get your third drone towards your third like now. Because you can see his Reaper's leaving his base right now with your Overlord. Right around the time when your Natural is going to be finishing is right around the time when his Reaper is going to be finishing. You always want to make
Right.
sure you have a drone at your third. Because like your window of time to do it right now is gone. If this guy goes to your third with his Reaper first, you no longer can like he'll always catch your drone in transit. Whereas
Right.
if there was a drone kind of like hiding at your third right now, then you have a drone there. So with like right when you have 300 minerals, if his Reaper starts camping like the doorway of your natural, you can just build your third anyways.
Got it.
So it's huge. That's a really important thing for sure.
That's pretty common in ZvT. Reaper will go straight to my third
Well,
and like try to.
okay.
And
Uh,
they'll try to like slow it down or.
so it's basically what the Reaper will normally do. Okay, is it will normally go to your main, or it'll go to like the front of your base, and then if there's a cliff that he can, sometimes they'll go up the cliff to jump into your main to kill a drone there, or they'll just camp the front of your natural, and just try to kill your lings, and then possibly kill drones. But the main thing a Reaper will always want to do, in general, is usually going to be to not allow you to take a third base if you haven't yet done so. So
Right.
you can see you're setting your drone out now. If this Reaper would have got, like, you actually got lucky that he went to your main. Because if the Reaper sat in front of your
Right.
natural, he would have killed this and denied it.
Right.
And you'll run into problems with players who run the Reaper like that, where they always run the front of the natural, like what he could have done a second ago. And it just delays your third base a lot longer than it should be. Because your third should be going down, like, right now. So the fact that you're pulling a drone, now to build it means you understand that. But this drone only mined maybe, like, an extra 5 to 10 minerals. With the fact that it sat at your natural just a little bit longer, and getting the third base up just in this particular instance when you're fighting a Reaper is more important than those 5 to 10 minerals for that drone.
Got it.
So the correct drone to do is your first drone that goes to your natural should instead go to your third. That's just the drone you send.
Okay.
All right. And then also, just because this will happen to you a lot, always make, like, the higher level you get, the more this is going to always happen. You're never going to play a Terran who doesn't make a Reaper. It's like the chances of him going Reaper gets higher as the skill level goes higher.
Right.
I would say as soon as your pool's done and you start 2 queens, also start 4 lings every time. That way 4 lings can be here as the Reaper shows up, so you don't ever have to move a drone around or micro drone. Because if this dude microed better than he did there, I guarantee he could have killed like 2, maybe 3 drones. Or he could have forced a lot of static D out of you. Like, build a spore and then cancel the spore to save it kind of shit. Which is so expensive. It sucks when that happens.
2 Ling, 2 Queen. Got it.
Well, like 2 eggs of Ling. So 4
eggs,
four lings. The lings are the weird thing. Every time I talk to anyone about this, they're like, wait, do you mean 2 eggs or 2 lings? Because you just don't know. It's like doubled up.
So you're saying just 2 Lings?
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna pause the game really fast, and I'm gonna ask you from your perspective in this game, what do you think the Terran is gonna do to you? What do you think is possible here?
Looks like he's going mech.
Okay. There's a chance of mech, I would say. It's not confirmed that he's going mech yet, but he is making a factory with a tech lab. And what can you make off of a factory tech lab if you see
You get siege tank, you get tanks,
and you can
tanks and Thor.
Yeah, you can't make Thors yet just because there's no armory, but he definitely can make a tank, and he also can make a cyclone. Mm-hmm. So if I were you seeing this, I would be like, be like, okay, well, I'm not expecting Hillians anymore. That's not really going to be a thing. I'm also not really expecting any type of like crazy aggression really, really, really fast that I need to be worried about. Like if he sends 1 tank or 1 cyclone across the map, you could easily kill it with some Zerglings. So I would just be worried. I would be interested to know what unit he's going to make first out of that tech lab factory to really kind of help you figure out what's going on. And if it is a tank, it's probably going to be more of a defensive player, and that could turn into mech for sure. It's really weird. It's really, really, really weird to rush tanks and then not, just to rush tanks at higher level, because it's a very defensive posture. And when you play very defensive like this at higher level play, players usually understand how to read that as I can be as greedy as fuck now. I can just take 4 bases and make mass drones or shit like that. And so it doesn't really work as well higher level. But yeah, I will say the fact that he's making a second factory. Okay, so we didn't talk about that yet. The fact that the second factory's up, I agree with you now that it is mech. That double factory opener definitely means okay, it's mech opener. So, and the fact that we see a reactor means that there's going to be there will be a future emphasis on Hellions. He's just not opening Hellions. So, go ahead.
So for the first factory that has a tech lab on it, I should let my overlord hang out over here until the first unit comes out.
Yeah, that's fine. I would say
I
would say that's fine because it could die to a cyclone, but if he builds a cyclone or builds a Hellion, that does tell you a lot of if he builds a cyclone or builds a tank, that tells you a lot. And what I would say about that is a good way to respond to this is if he makes a tank first, don't even make any more lings. Don't make shit other than drones for a little bit. Like, get another round of drones out, basically. But if it was a cyclone, maybe you want to make, like, a little bit more lings. Maybe go up to, like, 10 lings so you can surround it if it actually pushes across the map and tries to start, like, doing things like killing your queens or creep tumors or something like that.
Got it.
But in general, the best way to respond to this right now, I would say, as a whole, would be throw down a Roach Warren. I know, and
Mm,
I know the style that you want to do is Ling, Bane, Hydra, but throwing down a Roach Warren is so much more efficient against the mech style openers where they go multi-factory. Uh,
mm.
like Roaches are better against Hellion Cyclone. They're better against Tank Hellion. They're better against fucking really anything Hellion plus whatever.
Right.
Lings just kind of get Lings get fucked. The more Hellions there are, the more Lings do not really get that much of effective trades.
Right.
So yeah, I would say a Roach Warren's going to help you be what a Roach Warren does for you right now is you don't have to go Roaches all game, but it allows you to have a better economy faster because Roaches are more efficient at this stage against what he has, and then that allows you to
Right.
have more Ling Bane Hydra later.
Got it.
So yeah, mech openers for sure make Roach Warren. Um, and like see the amount of Lings you made, I don't agree with it, and it's because. So like right now you already have 6, which is I think it's fine. It was like anti-Reaper Lings. Anywhere between 4 and 6 is good against a Reaper. But the fact that you now have 8 more coming out is not necessary because of what you see. Because there's no way
Mm,
he can attack you right now with anything other than the one Reaper
right.
still, and the one Reaper easily will die to your 6 Lings.
Right.
It,
This is after all seeing what's going on in his base, right? After scouting the shit that he's done.
yeah, so you made the Lings
Got it.
right. You make the Lings right now for the Reaper. They should have been made a little bit faster, but that's fine. You didn't lose any drones, which is the real big reason why that needs to happen. And right now you have 2. You have 4 out, 2 more on the way, which is 6 Lings for the Reaper. That's fine. But after seeing what you see now, I would right now looking at his base, I'd be like, is this guy gonna go fucking Marauders? What the hell's going on? Like, okay, this build's awkward. Uh, and I would be thinking right now, possible Hellbat timing. Like if he started a reactor, or it's really this build honestly makes no sense if it was Marauder first. Like this build looks terrible if he was gonna start making Marauders, but that's what it looks like it could be right now because he hasn't done shit yet with his tech lab barracks
Right.
and factory. But the second you see this swap right here, now you're like, okay, tank or cyclone, one of those are happening, and then makes a reactor on the barracks. So this could be tank marine, it could be cyclone marine, cyclone opener into like tank marine. This looks like it could be bio, but the second he makes that factory again, this now confirms it's mech, like we were talking about earlier. And now I'm thinking it's either going to be cyclone Hellion or tank Hellion, and this because he prioritized the tech lab first and not the reactor first. There's nothing that's going to attack you until at least like 5.5, 6 minutes. Like nothing will attack you because bare minimum, it's already 3:44, and bare minimum he has to wait 43 seconds for the second factory. Then he has to swap it, which is another like 4 seconds, and then he has to build Hellions, and that's when he starts making Hellions, which is going to be at like 4:30.
Hmm.
And then he's only making them 2 at a time, and no one's ever going to attack you with just 2 Hellions at that point in the game because it's so late. So he's probably
Right.
going to wait till he has like a good like at least like 6 Hellions, which is going to be around 6
Right.
minutes, like 5.5, and then he has to cross the map as well. So we're talking seriously like 5.5 to 6 minutes until he attacks you, guaranteed.
Right.
So that's time for you to be like, all right, I'm going to go crazy on drones for my third base and then make units. Like the
Right.
perfect response to this would be just drone the shit out of your third and make a roach warren, and then once your third is fully saturated, start making roaches then to deal with his harassment, whatever he could do, and then you could take a fourth base behind that and go into like Ling Bane Hydra. For this exact game you're playing, that would be the perfect response.
Right. Dang, so I definitely made way too many Lings right here.
Yeah, this would be a good response if it was Hellions first, but it's not. So there's no form of aggression that it's going to attack you at all, and you're making more Lings again. So what's happening right now, if you look at the income tab, is you're actually falling behind for no reason because you're playing more or less paranoid,
Right.
and then you're also prioritizing gas right now at your natural, like before you've saturated your third, and these gases at your natural should not go down until your third base has at least 8 drones on it.
Got it. So three base heavy mineral, and then take the naturals gases.
Yeah, so this should be.
Got it.
I'll explain this really fast, and this will be how your gas should go. Okay.
Yeah.
So First gas, you did it perfectly, where you mined your speedling and you took 2 drones off to go back down to 1 drone. That's fine up to that point. You do not resaturate your main gas until your natural mineral line is fully saturated, and then you resaturate main gas. And then you do not build gases 2 and 3 until third mineral line has at least 8 drones as well. And then you do not build gases 4, 5, and 6 until all 3 mineral lines are fully saturated, and on top of that, you have started another round of drones. So that when you build these gases to saturate these gases, it's not ripping drones off the current mineral line saturation, it's instead ripping off oversaturation to saturate the gas.
Right.
And that's how you want to manage your 3 base gas when you go Ling Bane Hydra opener, or like when you want to go for a style that is Ling Bane Hydra.
Right.
And this is going to stay the same whether or not you're going to build roaches. What rank is this? This is you said you're diamond, right?
Diamond 3, yeah.
Yeah, diamond.
Damn, that's wild, bro. Good shit.
Yeah, it's like the economy is always everything in this game, and like your lings are definitely fucking your economy really hard right now, for sure. And as we were saying, like 5.5, 6 minutes bare minimum. Like let's look right now at 5.5 minutes what he has. He's actually going Marines with double tech lab tanks, which is so fucking awkward. And he's making a third factory now as well, and a second barracks. Like this guy is playing super awkward. But even so, you could have been fully saturated on 3 bases at this point. If you just realized, oh, okay, there's no way he can attack me right now. He's playing super turtly with his tanks. And you would have known this because your overlord did see, oh, it's tank. I remember how we said a second ago, you might want to make a little bit more lings because it might be a cyclone first. But if it's a tank first, you just make fucking drones because he can't punish you at all with 1 tank. Like tanks are units that need to be made in numbers. They also need to be protected. They can't come out isolated and be like, I got 1 tank that I'm going to siege on you and kill you. Like if you just be like, all right, I'll just run some speedlings at you, or even 1 queen and run into your siege range and just kill your fucking tank.
Right.
So yeah, like right now, if you were fully saturated on 3 bases, you'd have 66 drones versus his 45 SCVs instead of 46 to 45. And this is when you would be like just cranking units like crazy and taking your 4th base. And because it is also not Cyclone Hellion and instead it is actually Tank Marine, I would have said making the Roachhorn would have been a good idea early on. But as soon as you realize, okay, he's actually not making tanks, he's actually making Marines. Or sorry, he's not making Hellions. He's making Marines with the reactor, and he's making tanks. You could just be like, all right, even though I have a Roachhorn, and maybe I even made like 8 roaches to be defensive just in case, after I was fully saturated on 3 bases, you could just say fuck roaches at that point and just go Ling Bane Hydra. And that'd be fine.
Got it.
But if you would have scouted, oh, he's actually making Marines. Like, let's say you physically see it. You don't just see the tank, you see the Marines. You could just skip roaches altogether. Even though you have the building, you don't even need to make them at that point.
Right.
It's only because the only time you'd want to make roaches is because he makes Hellions. Like Hellions plus whatever, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and then your 4th base as well should be started like the second your 3rd's fully saturated. You should just start a 4th, especially. And then also here's the thing. I'm gonna pause it again. When you start your 4th base, when you go Ling Bane Hydra, it's around that is around the same time you're gonna want to take your Hydra Den. You're gonna want to take your double Evo, and you're gonna want to take your 4th base double Evo and Hydra Den and macro hatch. So like, basically. Let me describe the build here. The only thing that should go down, besides your spawning pool, early on would have been the Roachhorn, like we talked about, as a reaction to his double factory. That's the Roachhorn reaction. You're like, oh look, possible mech very likely mech opener here. Let's go for a Roachhorn. Other than that, you're just droning. You'll make roaches if he makes Hellions. You'll make drones if he doesn't. And then you do not make your Baneling Nest until after you start your lair, and the next 50 gas you have can go into a Bane Nest. This way you can get a quick Baneling speed to defend any type of timings that could come if you're actually going to not end up making roaches for the early part of the game. Like if it actually does end up turning into bio, kind of like it kind of is. He's like going for like a hybrid style.
Right.
So Baneling Nest is appropriate after you struck the layer with your next 50 gas, with the gas timings we talked about earlier.
Right.
And then you do not actually make your Hydra Din or your double Evo until all your 6 gases have been started, and you don't take your 6 gases until, like we talked about with the drones earlier, where you have oversaturation, which is kind of what you have a little bit right now. You're starting your gases with a pretty decent drone count. You're almost there. Your main is a little undersaturated, but other than that, you're looking pretty good. I gotta sneeze. Oh my god.
Go over, Doc.
Excuse me. Sorry.
That's you, bro.
Thanks, man. But yeah, your Hydra Din and double Evos start at the same time, and that's when you're, like I said, with your good drone count, when you have all 6 gases. And then you start 2 hatcheries at the same time as well, at the same time as you start your Evos and the Hydra Den. One will be a macro hatch, and one will be a 4th base. And the reason why you need to do this is because you will fucking never, ever have enough larva if you don't make a macro hatch, and you don't take a quick 4th base if you're going for a Zergling style. You just won't ever have enough larva. You'll always have more money than you can spend if you don't do this.
3 queens are good though. 3 queens or 1 queen per hatch for 3 total.
No. I would say that is not good. So here's the thing: if you play against someone and you scout them, and you know for a fact he's going double factory, I would say 3 queens is almost good. You never ever want to stop at 3 just because you also want to have some creep queens. I would say maybe go up to like 4 or 5. If you know there's not going to be a starport, 4 or 5 queens is okay. With this kind of an opener. But if you see a starport, you maybe want to go for either one of these 2 things. If you see a starport or you just don't know what it is, you want to go up to maybe 9 queens, like 8 or 9 queens.
Jeez. Okay.
And the reason why is because if you don't scout it, or if you know there's a starport, or if you just don't scout anything at all, and there could be a starport, and this guy goes for let's say a battlecruiser opener, okay, that's the biggest problem you would have is he goes BCs, and you're like, oh fuck, I have 3 queens, and he has BCs, and all 3 of my queens are also spread at every hatchery, and he just teleported on my main, and now my queen at my main is dying as it's trying to run away to regroup with my other 2 queens, and my other 2 queens don't have any energy because they've been injecting in my hatcheries. So now they don't have transfuse, and they both die to the battlecruiser. And then your drones just start having to run around a lot. And it sucks, basically. And you're like, I got to make spores now. I got to remake queens. It just puts a big hiccup in your build. Whereas if you just make more queens, if you either know it's a starport or you don't know anything at all, it allows you to have more creep spread, which is always good for this kind of against ZvT. Creep is always amazing.
Right.
And then the queens also give you a lot of defense measures they can also help a lot against Hellions. They help a lot against Hell Bat timings. They help a lot against diversified kinds of harassment, like whether it be Marine medevac, like a medevac Widowmine drop, a fucking Banshee harass, Liberator harass. Like queens are just amazing at so many different types of defense. There's nothing they're bad against at all in terms of defense. So you definitely need to make more queens. And if you think about it like this too, you could have easily afforded more queens instead of these Zerglings, and then making drones with your larva instead, because queens don't cost larva.
Right.
So
that's a good idea.
Yeah. I would say if you want to make it really easy for yourself, because again we're talking Diamond 3 right now. I don't want to make this too if statement diversified. Like if he does this, do that. If he does this, do this. If he does that, do this. And it's just like, what the fuck am I doing? There's so many things.
What the hell?
Yeah, I would say maybe just every game for now, just get used to going for 9 queens, and the way you would build those is you're gonna build your first 3 queens kind of like you always do, like how you did this game, which is fine. But then after you build your first 3 queens, don't build any more queens out of your main. Build queens 1 at a time as you can afford them out of your natural and your third, and you'll go up to eventually 9. And the reason why this is also really good is because once you get to 9 queens, once you take base number 4, once you take your macro hatch, once you take your 5th base, you can rip a queen off of your creep spread queens, which at that point is gonna be 6 queens once you're on 3 bases for creep, because you have 3 still injecting. But then your 4th base, now you only have 5 queens creeping and 4 queens injecting because you just ripped one off. You just sent it to the hatchery and just let it go there, and then your macro hatch finishes, and you do the same thing again. Now you only had 5, now you have 4. Creep queens, and now you have 5 injectors, And then now you have a fifth base, which is now your sixth hatchery. Same thing again. Another queen goes to it. And you can make it to where you have like 5 or 6 queens injecting at this point, and you just have now a couple queens, like 2 or 3, still on the map, kind of roaming around to fill in creep gaps or like replace creep if the Terran scans it and kills it. So it'll have multi-purpose throughout the whole game, and it'll keep you safer early game versus lots of variations of openers that Terran can do.
Right. Damn, 9 queens. All right.
Yeah. Like, so we'll say 8 or 9. If you get to 8, I'm okay with that. If you make 9, great. Probably don't go above that though, just because you're going for Hydras. You're not going for like a mass Ling Roach style. So Hydras are you don't want to be stuck on queens for too long because you're going Hydras. So 8 or 9 is where you want to be for that.
Right.
With a Zergling opener. And yeah, and then so again, like I said before, just really make sure this is a priority for you. Do not make queens. If your hatchery is not currently making a queen, and let's say you only have like 5 right now, and you're ready to make number 6, do not prioritize a queen again until you have prioritized your larva. Larva is always the priority. So spend your larva first, and then as soon as you have a little bit of extra money and your larva has been spent, then make a queen. Otherwise, your build's going to get fucked up again, just like it kind of got fucked up this game with how you made Lings.
Right.
Alright, so that was a super random attack right there that ended up...
Yeah, I was just like, man, fuck it. I got too much shit. Let me just see what he got.
So this is super fortunate and lucky. I would say if you ever saw tanks unsieged in the middle of nowhere like this, I would take the fight as well. But taking the fight like this just in the first place is really risky for you to have done, because if those tanks were sieged and he had bio there or Hellions or something and you just ran into it, there's a good chance you lose everything. Like you just throw your army away, and then it puts you in a situation where you don't get to take your 4th base, you don't get to drone your 4th base. Instead, you're just remaking units that just got thrown away. So what I would say you should do instead is just scout him again rather than attack him blindly. And the way you can scout him is either make an overseer, go through his base, maybe send a Zergling to his outer bases instead to see does he have a 3rd base, get a read on his economy, things like that. Don't actually just send your whole army across, because there's 2 risks that you run here. One is if you attack him like this and you have the potential to like lose your army because you run into him and you just die. That is one way you could throw everything away here. Another way it could go bad for you is if while you're moving out in the middle of the map, let's say 2 medevacs or something show up at your cliff at your natural, and you're way out of position and he just drops you, or a banshee shows up or something shows up that's going to be annoying as fuck for you, and now you're in the middle of attacking him and he's also attacking you. But the way Terran works is Terran's always going to have a wall, so this army is not really like massive for you. It's more like a poke. And there's a good chance that if he had a wall raised and his units were behind the wall, that you don't break that wall and you lose everything. So there's a lot of game throwing potential here for you, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I mean, it worked out. That was a lot of Banes that went into that tank, unfortunately. But it worked out.
Yeah, dude, I watched this replay. I was like, damn, that was not worth it. I was like, damn it.
But keep in mind, too, looking at the income tab, right now you're at 59. Terran's at 55. At least you made him lift off his command center, which is good, but your worker counts are so similar. And right now, at this point in the game, you would definitely not want to be this close to Terran. If you are, it means that something went wrong for you throughout the game, whether it be you lost drones or you played way too paranoid. You'd want to be... When the Terran's at like 55 workers, you kind of want to be a Zerg at maybe like 75 to like 80 drones. So you at this point in time, you'd want to have your 4th base kind of like being saturated already with like, it would either be fully saturated already or have a good saturation going towards it already. And it would be done, basically, as well. So, yeah, just make sure I would say the perfect time to scout would be your first Overlord. The way you scouted was great. You got a good read on his opener. But the next scout would be maybe go into his base again around like 4:30 to 5 minutes. Like you can start sending your Overlord in around 4 to 4:15 because that unit is slow as fuck. But getting a good read on his base between the time range of 430 to 5 is going to tell you, does he have a third base? Does he have extra production? Is he going for a 2-base timing? Is he going mech? Is he going bio? Is he going for upgrade heavy style? Is he going air units really heavily? Like, so many things will get discovered between 430 to 5 because he'll have made his choice about what he wants to do in that time, like, bracket, basically.
Right. Hey, quick question. It kind of came back to me.
Sure.
You said taking my 4th hatch to get my 4th expansion after my 3rd is fully saturated.
Mm-hmm.
I get the Hydra Den, 2 Evos.
Yep.
And the macro hatch, correct?
Yes. All at the same time.
Got it.
The priority would be... So this is how your build should go, okay? With the order of that. It should be, all right, I just made another round of drones. I now have a lot of drones. I have more than 16 per hatchery. I know now that I have over-droned, I can afford to make my gases and rip drones off of the mineral line to go into the gas and not lose 16 out of 16 on the mineral line. And that's like the step 1. That's the initiation of all of this process. So as soon as that happens, then you go back to your main base and you go, all right, Evo, Hydra. Go to your 4th, drone, grab a drone, build it, go back to your main, grab a drone, build your macro hatch. That should be the order of how you do it.
Got it.
And then you just make sure one last time after you build all those buildings, you just take one more look at all your mineral lines and your gases and just make sure everything on your 3 base is fully saturated. Because you don't want to be like 13 out of 16, for instance, on your main like it is right now for a long time. Like, that's going to hurt you in the long run.
Right.
Mineral field depleted.
Well.
And then you have a lot of Lings again. So you're playing this game kind of like... This is kind of
paranoid.
Yeah, it's kind of it's turning into like an all-in for you because you can see you're actually falling behind in supply because you're making too many units when you don't need them, and you're putting yourself in situations where you have to attack. And if your opponent plays a strong defensive position, like for instance putting tanks on siege on the cliff, and then he just like loads up medevacs as you like, if you were to like run into him, and then he has tanks shooting on the high ground, and then he loads up units on the low ground that you were about to hit but you don't quite hit them. Like, that's a great way for Terran to just bleed you out, and then you just throw away an army, basically. But yeah, golden rule for Zerg, especially when you go for Zergling styles, is stay 1 base economy above the Terran, up to 4 bases. It stops happening at 4 bases because I would never tell you to make like 110 drones or something like that. It's just a bit like that's very, 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 very particular. You would never really do that if you're learning StarCraft. Stopping around 80 drones, 80 to like 85 is perfect, and 88 is exact 4 base saturation. So even if you went to 88, I would still be like, yeah, it's okay. But like 80 to 85 is great because it's pretty much 4 base saturation, and it allows you to have a good army. It still gives you like a range of supply to work with that's high. Like we're talking 115 to 120 army supply that you can work with, which is really good. And it allows you to like remax and stuff really quickly. So again, the goal for you, the development stage of StarCraft, okay, against Terran, it's like this works like this against Terran and Protoss. If you see, oh look, this guy's got a 3rd base, I'm gonna saturate my 4th base now. Like that's what you should be doing. So you should try to figure out a way to not die, which means don't throw your army away and have to rebuild your army. Just keep your army maybe defensive for a second on creep, and then saturate your 4th base, and then make army all day. If you were fully saturated and you were doing these attacks like you are, I might tell you, okay, maybe scout them a little bit better and maybe take a better fight. But otherwise, the fact that you're taking fights is not a big deal though, because you're already fully saturated. But taking fights when you're not fully saturated and reducing, making the amount of time it'll take you to get to full saturation, it's going to take longer now because you're like, let's just say you could have got there at 7 minutes and instead you made an army and threw your army away. And now you could have got there at 8 minutes, but you made another army and threw it away. And now you could have got there at 9 minutes, but you made another army and threw it away. Like every time this happens, it's just taking longer for you to get there, and it's making your whole build go slower.
Right. Yeah, that shit just piles on, huh?
Yeah, no, it does.
It's crazy.
So your goal should be, if you're going to play a macro game like you are, it should be, because you're still getting there at some point. It's just taking longer because you keep making too many units too much.
Right.
Your goal should be get to 80 to 85 drones as fast as you can, and then you make army like crazy. So the way you should read a game is scout And if you see, okay, this Terran is not not taking a third base, he's actually got a fuckload of production on 2 bases, and I'm on 3 base saturation already, which means I'm a base ahead. It's the golden rule right there. You are already a base ahead of him, but he's on 2 bases with like 5 factories at like 5.5 minutes or something. And you're like, okay, yeah, he's definitely going 2 base timing or whatever. Then you could be like, all right, I'm gonna make a lot of units because I'm gonna get ready to be hit by a timing. It makes sense because he's not investing into a third base. But the second you see a third base, you're like, all right, I'll saturate my 4th because he's taking a third. So if you see the 3rd early and you're like, okay, I'll saturate my 4th, you have time to do it. And then once you've done it, then you go back into army, and that's when you'll have a lot more supply. And the example I like to show people with this, which kind of blows people's minds, is at 9 minutes, you could be maxed out. And at 9 minutes right now, you're at 122. And you're actually trailing the Terran in supply because he's 139. And the Terran has not killed a single drone this game. Is zero workers killed for both of you. So the fact that you're behind in supply and he's ahead in supply and no workers have died, it just means that you've put yourself in a situation where you're kind of like all-inning him to a degree.
Right.
Because you're putting yourself in these situations where you need to get damage done and you're not getting damage done. So you're falling behind overall in a macro game.
Right.
So yeah, like you could be maxed right now, seriously.
Right.
Which if you were maxed out and doing an attack right now, you would just run him over.
Right. Dude, so I tried to do a split right here. I didn't know how big this fucking place was. I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't work out very well.
Yeah, you're doing like it looks like you're doing like a counter even. But yeah, like those destructible rocks in the middle of the map definitely make it a lot longer.
Right.
So you're going for like a multi-prong, and I would say that it's not a bad idea. You're definitely focusing a lot on like the engagement style situation here, but it again the bigger problem here in this particular game is just how your reaction, like I would say your reads of the game about how this has gone so far has definitely fucked you over a lot more than everything else.
Right.
I would say this, like, I like that you're attempting this. This is not a big deal. I don't really give a shit. You could do this all the time. Like, keep working on it. You'll get better at it. You'll get more comfortable at it over time. But you should just definitely have a lot more than you do right now.
Right.
And if you did have a lot more, this would actually be very effective. You would fuck him over pretty hard right now.
Right.
So yeah, like the fact that you have the idea that you're trying to switch your army up with like Ling Bane for now, that's fine. I don't mind it. But it's gonna look bad, and it's not. I just want to make sure that this does not look bad because it's like, oh, you split your army up and it's dead. It's because you just don't have enough. That's the only reason why this looks bad.
Right, to back it up, like, macro-wise.
Yeah, you just need more shit. I mean, you even killed his 3rd base, which is kind of nice. And you actually killed some of his workers there, and your creep spread is pretty decent right now. So, like, that's not bad. But...
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, like the one of the things that's going really bad for you though, for sure, is your lack of upgrades. So when we talk about
dude, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like when we talk about like the timings of how everything's supposed to go, the double Evo Hydra, make sure as soon as those are done, you're going 1-1 and Hydra upgrades, for sure. And then
got it.
And then, yeah, that'll definitely have you with a decent pacing 4 upgrades. And, you know, I really just want you to hit that. I wish you would have hit that good drone count, because it's situations like this where when you throw your army away, you really can't just be like, oh, I just lost an entire army. Even though I might have killed some of his, all of mine died. I'm going to make drones now. Like, you can't do that. That's going to get you killed. So, because it's not a drone window, really. Drone windows are when you have map control. So, for either reasons that you know your opponent's not going to attack you, or you killed his army if he attacks you, and you know you crushed it and now he has to play defensive, or things like that. So you're kind of stuck in a situation where you're stuck on making units all day, and if this guy takes a really bad fight on creep, you could win. But yeah, this is just not like, it's not a great position for you still. It's nice that you killed the 3rd, but it's still kind of rough overall.
Right. That's good to know, man, about those evos. I honestly felt like lost track of it and kind of just played a bunch of units and forgot about my
Yeah.
Evo, all my upgrades.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely gonna fuck you over a lot more in the long run. If you know you're missing the beat on things like that. So like that was, you know, that I'll just say right now that right now you just got a drone window right there. You
Right here.
like, yeah, he just threw an army away. But if a Terran ever throws an army away like that, like he walked on a creep, he sieged everything directly on top of each other, pretty much. You took a like that. You had a less supply army and you crushed his army right there because that was just a nice creep engagement. That's ideally what you want to have happen in ZvT.
Got it. Got it.
You always want to fight on creep if it's going to be an army versus army fight, unless you're fighting his economy. That's like the only exception is like if I'm attacking him, I'm going to try to kill his economy. If I'm attacking his army, ideally I want that to happen on creep. Unless you're maxed out as well. Like that's the only other exception is if you're maxed and you're like, well, I don't want to wait for him to max, so I need to take a fight. Then yeah, sure, go fucking kill some of his army too.
Right.
So like right now though, talking about exactly what just happened, you just killed his entire army, and you still have some army left over. This Terran player is not going to just suddenly pull him. And you see how he's also retreating now. This guy is not going to suddenly just whip out a new army out of his ass in 2 seconds. So if we look at production right now, and you already have some Hydras and Lings in production, those are okay because you made those during the fight, not after the fight. Those are already almost like 20 seconds and 17 seconds ago is when you made them, which is fine. But now you're starting to make drones, which means you understand that it's a drone window. But you should drone all the way to like even like another like 8 drones into that. Like go up to like maybe like almost seriously like 85. 85 is more appropriate once the game is at this stage where it's really late in the game now.
Right.
Like you want to like 80 would be but I would respect 80 still. It would still be okay. But I think 85 is like that sweet spot where it's really good. It's you're basically fully saturated 4 base.
Right.
And now you're starting to make Lings again, or no, you're not. Just kidding. Those are still from the last set. And now we're gonna see what gets made. Your drone count is 80. It's at 80, which I think it's okay. I'm glad that you made drones though. I'll just say that. I'm really glad you made drones. And you
Thanks, bro.
You got up to 80. Like that needs to fucking happen. If you just made nothing but Hydras and Lings again and like 70 drones or 68 or some shit, I'd be like, you're kind of missing the
point.
Yeah, like you're missing like the advantages you could have here for sure.
Right.
But like right now, okay, so you droned correctly there. That was good. I think you got there later than you could have, like overall, because you definitely could have got there a lot earlier in the game. But you're still there eventually. What should happen now with this kind of a style is you should never run at a Terran's base. Like if you actually run at his base like this, where your Hydras are kind of exposed, your Lings are exposed, they're running in a single file line, you have no Banes. This is not ideal. What should be happening instead is you should be looking for a 4th base right now. And if he doesn't have one, prepare yourself for a timing attack and then get ready to do it with a proper army like Ling, Bane, Hydra, not just scattered Ling Hydra. Because think about it like this, okay? If you scout for a 4th base right now and he doesn't have one and you have 5 bases, means that you're building army at a faster pace than he is. And there's no way he's going to max as fast as you do. So even if you're having to take a fight where you're waiting for him to have a little bit of a bigger army, but you're going to have a bigger army, you're going to max and he won't be maxed. That's just going to happen if you're playing properly.
Right.
And then on top of that, I want you to also... Do you ever look at the game timer when you're playing the game?
Yes.
Okay, so that's good. Once if you ever see a game timer that looks like this, where we're now in 4 digits, it's now beyond 10 minutes, you can expect his main base is mining out and his natural is probably going to follow soon after. So even if you can't kill his 3rd and you keep attacking, you trade, you don't kill him, you make a new army, you attack him, you trade, you don't kill him, you make a new army, you attack, you trade, you don't kill him, you make a new army. But every time this happens, you're also like, oh, I'll just take another base. I'll take another base and I'll rotate drones around that are mining out of my patches. But I'm not allowing the Terran to have breathing room to take another base because I keep fucking trading with him and he's stuck defensively on his bases. And I know he doesn't have a 4th because I keep scouting for it. It's not there. And I would kill it if it was there, but instead he's playing really turdily on 3 bases. What's happening is the Terran is mining out and you're containing him long enough to where his income goes down and down and down and down because he has less available patches to work with. and then
Right.
he just runs out of money and he can't keep up with you at all. Even though he's playing super defensive, as long as you just keep your drones going properly on new bases.
Right.
So you could win this game by literally just saying, "I won't ever let you have a fourth base," and then
Right.
when I'm maxed
So
out,
right here is better to scout first, the fourth base, a new base if he has one, as opposed to like what I'm doing right here.
yeah, it's like the reason why I say scout now is because you're being active on the map, but you're also not risking your army, because what could happen, is you could run your army right now into his tanks and like stem bio, and then stem bio runs faster than Hydra's off creep. And you could be
Right.
like, oh, I'm running into his army. Oh, I got shot by a bunch of tanks, and now bio's stemming forward. I got to run away, and you're losing all your Hydras as you just run away. It's like
Right.
an unnecessary attack, because then you got to wait
Right.
for Hydras to be remade as well, which are fucking expensive too.
Right.
So this is a risky attack for you, basically.
Got it.
Like if you ever do want to attack a Terran before you max out, the only unit you should really be doing it with is Zergling, because you don't have to do it with all your Zergling. We're talking like you could send like 20 Zerglings, which is not that expensive, into like a third mineral line. And if he's not there defending it, you could kill a bunch of SCVs, and then either run away with your Lings or let the Lings die. Whatever, either way that happens, it's not that expensive. It's not that detrimental to you at all if your Lings die. But at the same time, if you kill a bunch of SCVs, that's so worth it.
Right.
But you could even not do that at all, and you could just sit back and make Ling, Bane, Hydra, and then once you max out, attack. That would also be fine.
Got it.
So you can see your army's like staggered as it repeatedly comes in, and you actually, it looks like you're not going to kill this planetary, and you're
Right.
you're going to lose your whole army.
Right.
And although it's nice that that happened, like it's nice that you're kind of trading with him a little bit. It could have been done as in a such more of like an effective way.
Right.
And that definitely is painful for you to like you lose. Like I'm glad that you have a good drone count though. That's the good part, because you can remax now really fast. But yeah, that was definitely a little wasteful. And then at this point now, this is it. Once it resets, look for a fourth base. This is what you should be doing right now. Because
Right here.
yeah, like every time
Got it.
between every attack, it's not just one time ever. It's every time the fight resets, because you guys both, the fight now it starts and then it ends either with he kills you, you kill him, you trade, whatever. Once the fight has reset, you look for the fourth base again, because that's the priority right now, because you want to starve his ass out.
Right.
Because if you look at his fourth base as well, this base is so easy to kill because it's also an orbital command. It's so exposed.
That's a good idea though. The two between each attack, do another scout. I like that.
Yeah, and then also the better you get with creep, the more it'll be like instead of always having a scout front of the base, you'll have just creep covering all the bases. Because if you keep the Terran defensive, and that just means that every time between every attack as well, you do another round of creep spread. Eventually, it's just like, well, my units are so fast at reinforcing my fights because I have creep all the way up to his base, and then on top of that, every base other than his initial 3 that he's on is covered in creep as well. So even if he lifts a command center and floats it over there, he's going to be flying over a shitload of creep and be like, oh, I can't even land it right now. Like my command center literally can't land here because there's creep everywhere. So that is another problem Terran has to deal with. It makes it even harder because it's a lot of time that he can't land it for. And then he also has to burn a bunch of scans to fucking kill the creep too on top of that.
Right.
And it's also risky for him to move on to that creep to kill it, because then it's an opening for you to kill his army.
Right. So in general, if Terran moves on creep, those are pretty much good chances for me to attack
Yes.
his army, right?
That's ideally for a Zerg player playing ZvT. You never want to fight his army unless you can fight on creep if possible. Unless there's a factor where it's like you're going to lose advantage if you wait longer. And that's only really going to happen when you're maxed and he's not attacking you and he's playing turtley. Then maybe, yeah, you can try and do something else, like figure out a way to attack him. Like, don't let him have an advantage in any way. Like, don't let him turtle up and now take a 4th base while you're just sitting there maxed out, sitting on your creep. You could be like, oh,
Right.
kill your 4th then, or something like that.
It's crazy too, man, because you know how you've been teaching bronze to plat, kind of like the Roach Hydra build.
Yeah.
I feel like this build is so much easier to transition to everything else. Like money-wise, like I feel like it's like 10 times easier. I feel.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that's really good. Is Lings, Zerglings are like one of the most amazing units late game, for Zerg, and Zerglings, because they go with ultras, they go with broodlords, they they're always good because of counterattack potential. They're good at killing bases. Like they're good at scouting. They're always effective, and they're also the best unit you can make at reinforcing because they build the fastest and they move the fastest if you have creep spread. So they definitely
Right.
reinforce very fucking quick. They're just really well-rounded units.
Right.
So it gives you a lot, and because of that, it gives you a lot of control throughout the game. Because you can go into all different kinds of styles. Roaches and Hydras definitely kind of get stuck on Roach, Hydra, Lurker, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, no, Ling's based styles definitely have a lot more versatility than Hydra styles do. It's just Ling based styles require a lot more attention to detail. Like you have to be more active all the time to make it work properly.
Right.
So it's definitely not something you'd want to teach someone who's lower level for sure, because they would not be able to be active with it like there should be.
Right.
So that was a nice attack, other than one thing. You had like no Banes in that fight, and if you had Banes, that would have been so good for you. But that was
Right.
that looked really sexy though, with the way you engaged like 3 angles at once. That was good. It was well timed for the most part. Your army on the right was a little bit late, but other than that, it was for the most part good. If you just had Banes there too, it wouldn't have mattered that your army on the right side was a little late.
Right.
Those Hellbats though fucking destroyed your Lings with the bio.
So quick question for the Lings, right? What's my ratio for Ling to Bane
If you're
at this point of the game?
if you're fighting against bio, you want to have
Mhm.
like 1/3 Banes, 2/3 Lings. So if you make 60 Lings, you want to have like 20 of those become Banes. Ideally, like it doesn't have to be perfect, but roughly just kind of guesstimate it a little bit. Be like, I have a
Right.
bunch of Lings, I'm gonna just grab a chunk and make a bunch of Banes. And if it looks like
Got
about
it.
1/3 are Banes, that's a good number.
Got it.
But yeah, right there, I think you had like 100 Zerglings and like 5 Banes.
Right.
So that's definitely not a third.
Right.
Because, like, check this out. Watch this. Okay, so you're engaging right now, and you have 79 Zerglings and 9 Banes. But watch units lost right now. Just go to hit L for units lost, and just look at
Okay.
how quickly his shit dies to how quickly your shit dies. And it's going to eventually go well for you. Because once the Hydras and Broodlords start connecting, it starts going really well. But up until then, when it's mostly just Zerglings, watch how fast your shit just starts dying. Because you don't have any Banes.
Right.
Like, now we're starting to get the other shit connecting, really. But up until that point, it was like 50 Lings or something just bled out just because. Because they're faster than everything else. And there was not enough Banes to really punish the Terran while he punished your Lings.
Right.
So again, right now, the goal should be scout new expansions. Every time a fight is over, you just want to consume the map further. Do a creep spread round to just not only have scouting vision better, but also have reinforcement abilities, and also force Terran to potentially fight on creep more often because the creep is closer to his base.
Right.
Since you have more of the map covered, there's higher chances you're going to fight on creep.
Right.
And you are killing the base I want you to be killing. This is good. So that's good. But make sure, like, the big thing I'm trying to make you very aware of is you always want to make sure you're killing the newest base, like the most
Right.
exposed base, especially if you have control of the game right now, which you do because you just killed this
Right.
army.
Yeah, I definitely see my weaknesses for sure. Scouting, and then a little bit paranoid in the beginning for sure.
Yeah. It slowed you down a
Definitely see
lot,
that.
for sure. It definitely slowed you down a lot. But the fact that you, the thing is once you get to a point where you do have the 80 to 85 worker count, and you're just, you're like constantly just flooding. That's where you start really getting control of the game. And you did eventually get there. And you can see that once you got there, you started crushing this dude. But up until that point, you were definitely like trailing him in supply constantly, because you were delaying getting yourself getting there for so often, or for so long.
Right.
And then I was gonna say something else. I just forgot. Oh my god. Shit.
Supply, like,
No, it's, I can't remember what I was gonna say. Fuck. Oh well. It's okay. If it comes back to me, I'll say it again. But yeah, like creep 2 is definitely your best friend, because again, it not only gives you the fight potential, but it also it scouts and delays future expansions of Terran too.
right.
And then it also makes it really easy for you to defend future expansions, because you will eventually start expanding on his territory as well,
Right.
if the game goes longer.
Oh, I remembered a question that I had earlier in the game.
Sure.
Came back. So you said for upgrades, right? You said double Evo.
Mm-hmm.
I prioritize melee and carapace, or
Melee.
I know for against mech, not carapace, just melee, right?
Yeah, against mech, if you went double Evo, it would be melee and range weapon, both weapons.
Got it.
But yeah, against
Got it.
bio, if it's any type of stim pack unit, you're gonna get melee and carapace.
Got it. Okay.
Because the thing about the Hydras is they're pure support. You're not massing them. You should never go above 20 Hydras ever against bio. Like, we're talking like 18 to 20 Hydras. I would say 20 Hydras is like an ideal number. If you make a tiny bit more, it's not a big deal. Try not to. If you make a tiny bit less, it's not a big deal. But you could then make maybe a few more. But 20 Hydras is enough. And the way you can quickly tell if you have 20 is, if you like, you can right now do it in the replay. You can just like control click your Zerglings at his third base or something like that. Or just like, so you can see the selection. It's 2.5 rows. So 2 full rows and then 4 on the third one. That's 20 exactly. So if you just quickly eyeball that, you can be like, oh, okay, if you're right next to it, or you're like maybe one above, one below, that's fine. But if you only have like 1 row, that's it. Maybe make some more. If you have like over 3 rows, stop making them all together. Don't make any more. You have way too many. But yeah, 2.5 rows is perfect Hydra count.
Got it.
Just so you can quickly eyeball it and you don't have to physically count them out. Yeah, you just never, you want to try your best to every time you take a fight, don't ever put Hydras in a situation where they're gonna die. That is why I was telling you that earlier, where it's like, this fight's not really that intelligent, because you're potentially gonna throw your Hydras away here.
Right.
You definitely don't want to be doing that, but at the same time, putting your units, like making sure you always have Ling Bane in front, and as soon as Ling Bane bleeds out, if that happens, you kind of retreat with Hydras, and then if Ling Bane does not bleed out, you can push forward and it's fine. But just don't try to not remake Hydras all game. That's the big goal here, because they're so expensive and you don't want to be remaking them. Oh my god. Fucking, I have
Bless
like,
you, don't.
thank you. I have like such bad allergies right now. It's like getting awful again. I don't understand. Whew.
Right.
Uh,
It's that time of year, man. Springtime.
oh, it's like, it happened to me like a couple weeks ago too. It was like really bad. But yeah, Hydra's good at 20. Don't remake if you can. If they die, obviously remake them, but try not to make them die.
Right.
And then you don't honestly need to make them anymore at all. Once you get to this stage, if you go Corruptor Broodlord, you can just have Corruptors replace Hydras.
Got it.
And then,
Okay.
because a Corruptor and a Hydra are the same supply, and Corruptors are just better than Hydras for the same role that they serve. Because once you have Broodlords, Hydras are no longer support units for Zerglings. That's kind of what the Broodlords are now. Broodlords are just way more effective than Hydras at killing like tanks and sieging bases, basically.
Right.
And then the Corruptors are just more effective than Hydras at killing air units like Medivacs or Liberators or Vikings or whatever. Like Hydras have to dive in too deep into the army usually to cover your broods then, and Corruptors can, when they dive in, they don't have to deal with tanks, and it's way easier to not have to deal with tanks, you know, with your air army. It's just better overall.
Right.
All right. Any questions about this game, about how we kind of got to the point where we got to?
Nah, man. I think I like it, man. Just the beginning stages. It's like the first time running it. I just need kind of like a better understanding. It's kind of helped, man. It helped a lot, dude.
Okay, so let's really quickly before we call it a day here. Wait, I don't do it yet. I want to give you one more game, one more example game.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and toss me party lead, and I'll make the game.
Okay.
And I'll give you just an example build. I like giving example builds, especially if it's something that's new that you haven't done yet, or you're just you're experimenting with and you're getting used to it. All right, and this will be the build I want you to do. That is going to be most games for you, basically. If you play against a what's it called? Like a mech opener, you can make a roach warren, and you would make the roach warren, you know, off of like 2 base saturation as soon as you see mech. But if it's not a mech opener, this is what you would do every game. Okay, I'm gonna give you the one you would do every time, basically.
Got it.
Like, because mech is gonna be, I feel like, so much less often.
Right. It's good shit, man. Thanks a lot, dude.
Yeah, no problem, dude. And if it was mech, it would just be make a roach warren. You could get roach speed. If it's a lot of mech units, you can make a lot of roaches for a little while, just so you can get fully saturated, and then make Ling Bane Hydra. But if it's not mech, then don't even worry about that fact. Don't even worry about roaches at all.
Right. So let's say it is mech, and I do decide to do roaches. When do I transition to Ling Bane Hydra?
When you're fully saturated.
You know what I'm saying? Once you're fully saturated,
Yep.
got it.
Yeah.
On my third.
Yep.
Got it.
And I'll say too, just to throw this out there, for now, don't worry about Ling Bane Hydra being your composition of choice against mech. But later on, you're probably going to want to not go Ling Bane Hydra as much against mech. But I don't think it's bad for you to practice Ling Bane Hydra now, because it is a mainstay army composition for Zerg. Like, it's a good one to practice. But there are better choices against mech than Ling Bane Hydra, just in general.
Right.
Like Roach Corruptor, Roach Ravager is honestly better against mech. Swarm
Ravager.
Yeah, Swarm Host are even good against mech. But there's a lot more complicated things about mech, about like if we're going to break that down, because there's different kinds of mech. It's not just one style of mech, and different kinds of mech have different types of weaknesses. So I just made drone number 20, and I'm also making 2 queens and 4 lings. This is like your perfect defense for a Reaper. And I have drone 20 running to my 3rd base right now.
20. Okay.
And then I would recommend doing this with your drone too. Don't leave it actually sitting at the 3rd. Put it down behind the mineral line like that. Because you don't want to make it yet. You just want to have the drone there so the Reaper can't block you from making it.
Right.
You want to make it right around 30 supply. So you're still going to spend your larva when it gets here. And then you take it. And then your first energy at your natural is going to be a tumor. Your first energy at your main is going to be an inject. And then you're going to make an overlord first with your larva here right around like 32-ish. And then you can make another queen next. So again, larva is always the priority. And then you just kind of add queens as you go.
Then tumor first. Okay.
Yeah, and then and we're not going to be adding on gas again in our main until we're fully saturated on 2 base. Like to you know, resaturate the gas in the main. And now we can add another queen because we're fully saturated. Or I mean, no, it's because we have enough money, rather. And this queen can now just be I can throw down a tumor first and then go to my 3rd to become an injector. And now Also, our Zergling speed just finished, so now we want to make like maybe another like 10 Lings. And this is assuming you don't know what he's doing, or there's a potential that he's going to be aggressive, like Hellions, for instance. The last game was a very, very exceptional thing where he's opening Siege Tank. If anyone opens Siege Tank first, you could actually skip these Lings I just made just now. But otherwise, if you make them like I just did, I don't mind. Like if you do this every game for now, it's fine too. It's okay.
Got it.
Okay, so we just went to our larva, and now I'm going to take my lair, because I have none, and I have enough gas to do it. And now, once we take out a lair, we're going to take a Bane nest. I don't really give a shit where you build it. Just build it.
Right.
And then, now we have 9 drones on the 3rd, and we're making more drones again. So let's go ahead and take our gases out our natural. And spread our creep. Okay, and right now we're making another round of drones. And these next round of drones we just made are going to saturate those gases we just made at our natural. And we're still making drones. We're almost at full saturation of 3 base. So now we can start a 4th base here in just a sec. So now our Bane nest is done, our layer is done. Make a Baneling speed. Get our 4th base started. And we have like the oversaturation thing we talked about. So now we're taking all of our gases. We're going to take our double Evo. Still making drones, by the way. Double Evo and Hydrogen. So there's our Hydrogen, double Evo. And then finally, the last thing we're making is our macro hatch. And a macro hatch. Natural's fully saturated, main's fully saturated. 3rd is oversaturated a little bit, so we can transfer some to our 4th. Because we made a little bit of excess drones, which is totally fine. Now just make another round of units really fast. And start making some Banes. Because our Baneling speed is about to be done, and this would be perfect timing to defend any timing the Terran could do. Like, this is around the time when Terrans are most likely going to be doing like a tank push or some shit like that. So we made we made just like another... Like 20 Lings basically is what or like 22 Lings, some shit like that. Like actual Lings, not eggs. So my Ling count right now should be in the range of like we have what 13 Banes, and we have probably around like 20 to 24 Lings. So we have 23 Lings. So this is a good number to have right here for right now. And now this allows us to saturate our 4th. So it's like we just made a decent round of like 10 larvae of Lings again. Once we saturated. Because we're not trying to attack him right now, we're trying to play defensive on creep. So our defense chances are a lot higher. Like a potential of defense is a lot better. And now we're going to transfer some queens around, and we're going to take another base. Because our next base is fully saturated. We're at that good drone count already. And now at this stage, this is when you start making Hydra Ling Bane all day. And you can take your 3 creep spreading queens and continuously creep spread. It looks like we're getting attacked, so let's bring our army over. Okay. Start making more creep timbers. Inject all of our hatcheries. And you just keep spreading that creep. And how many Hydras do we have? I think we're about done. I think I just made like another like 12 Hydras. And I already have some already. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just, you want to kind of get around 20 and then stop. And remember how I told you also could have been maxed out at 9 minutes if none of your drones die?
Right.
So we're already at
Shit,
162 at 8 minutes.
Right.
And now we have another base done. Let's send another queen to go inject it. Because again, larva is the big thing here because it's a Zergling style. And now we can go into a infestation pit to get ready to go into a hive. We can transfer some drones around to the next base. We can even take another base because we're starting to mine out our bases. And we are about to max. and now we're maxed. So now it would be, again, you look at your army and be like, all right, I'm going to make like a third of that Banes. Just hold it down for a little bit and be like, all right, that seems like a good amount of Banes. I have a bunch of Lings still. That's fine. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's roughly like what I would say that looks like about a third. Like, kinda. It doesn't, again, I probably have, if I had to guess, I probably have somewhere like around like maybe 80 Lings and maybe like 40 Banes. Somewhere around there. I don't know exactly, but it's probably somewhere around there.
All right.
And now this is when you'd be like, all right, let's go check for a third. Or a fourth, rather. Just you know, you should be... the one thing I didn't do this game was I didn't scout. Again, remember that right around 4 minutes is when you want to send your scout into his base. So you can see between, like, you'll get in there like really around like 4:30 to 5 minutes and you'll see a lot of what's going on.
Right.
And now, all we want to do now is kill newest bases. Next thing I did too was I'm still injecting my hatchery, so you can see I have a fuckload of larvae. Like I probably have like 40 or 50 larvae sitting there ready to go with the remax. And I also started 2-2, and I have an infestation pit now where I started a hive. So I can get ready to, once my hive's done, I can go 3-3 adrenal, and I can go to spire or whatever. Oh, look at this. Okay, I'm gonna throw my army away really fast. Just gonna let my army kind of die here. And the reason why is because I just want to show you the remax potential of if we're actually doing that. So if you take a fight, and let's say we trade with the Terran, okay? And we're like, cool. We're fucking the Terran up like crazy. And now I'm like ready to remax again. This is what happens if you have like 6 queens injecting. So I lost everything. And I'm down to like 90 supply or whatever. And you're just like, alright, I'm going to make like 20 Hydras. And just mass Lings again. And I'm already basically like almost maxed again. And now I'm going to be maxed.
Jeez.
This is what you should be doing. And then you should be like, alright, now I'll transfer drones off my natural, my main. Send them to my new bases I just made. You know. Transfer this. And then now we have this whole fucking huge new army. And we're just like, let's hold down some Bane button again for a little while. Make like a good like 40 Banes or something like that. We could go into like Spire, Ultralisk Cavern at this point. Go into Adrenal Glands and get ready to go 3-3. And we're still injecting. This is why this many queens is so fucking good injecting at this stage, because it allows us to actually have remax potential. And we just attack him again and again and again and again and again and again. And we'll never let him take another base this way.
Damn. Seems wild, bro. Good shit.
Yeah, this is how you keep control of the game like really hard against Terran and shit. So we're like, oh fuck, a lot of Lings died, and we're remaxed. You can just like stay maxed forever, basically. So the Terran has a third. You could, or just kidding. A normal player would. Those SCVs are stupid. It's an AI. It doesn't know what it's doing. But yeah, anyways, you get the point.
Right.
Yeah, economy management, massive. Making sure your economy is still flowing, massive. And don't be afraid to often inject your hatcheries to make sure you always have, like, look how much larvae we have again in all of our hatcheries. Like, it's actually fucking insane. Like, we have probably another 30 larvae again. And I just maxed again. Like, the larva goes ridiculously fast, how quick it can ramp up.
Shit.
And then you could, at that point, you could be like, I'm going to go into Ultras with Lings, or I'm going to go into Broodlords and Corruptors. You have a lot of options there.
Dude. That's good shit, man.
Yeah, no worries, dude.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
Yeah, I would say save that replay, just like title it something so you don't lose it, and then use that as like your Ling Bane Hydra quota, where it's like you try to stay in the realm of where we're at in that replay. I think that was a good overall example game in terms of like pacing of where you should kind of be at if you're doing it well.
Right. Dude, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it, man.
Yo, thank you, man, and good luck to you.
Oh man,
crush some
appreciate
fucking
it,
nerds.
dude.
Crush them nerds, bro.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, thank you, man. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Watch some more Netflix. And good luck, dude.
Thanks, bro. I'll catch you later, man.
All right, see you, man.
Peace.
All right, guys. That has been another coaching lesson. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys liked it. yeah, it was a bit of a Ling Bane Hydra style with a diamond. That was Diamond Link specifically, but talking about how to develop it and shit like that. But I hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure you go check out some more. I have tons of coaching lessons, lots of other content to learn from. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, peace.